I'm going to prove to you that every single thing you've been taught about webinars is complete fucking nonsense, and I'm going to show you how to actually do them properly. This is coming from someone that's done over $1 million in webinars in just the last few months, who spends a shit ton of money on ads, and these are webinars to a completely cold audience, right? So this isn't, all this nonsense crap about how to get customers from your personal brand. This is how do you actually go ahead and truly acquire customers profitably from cold acquisition channels on meta ads. And if you don't believe what I'm talking about, then I don't know, fuck off. But anyway, here's the thing that annoys me the most, which is one of the biggest things I hear all the time is live webinars are better than automated webinars. And I think that is the biggest load of bollocks that I've ever heard. And I think the problem that I have with this is everybody says this stuff and they regurgitate information that they've heard someone else talk about on YouTube or Twitter, and they just make their own content about it and blindly follow this advice without ever testing it. And so I've put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money behind webinars to prove to you that this stuff is absolute fucking nonsense. So let's just kind of break this down. The biggest thing that I hear all the time is if you're running a live webinar, your general KPIs you should be optimizing for is about 25% of all of your clicks registering to your event. All right, this is on a cold audience. I'm not talking about warm audiences. This is purely if you want to go ahead and acquire customers at scale through cold traffic. So that's typically what people are saying, 25% registration rate here. Then on average, if you're running your webinars where, say, for example, the webinar is going to be like 7 days out, or sometimes people even do them like 14 days out, and some lunatics even do their webinars like once a month and they wait 30 days. This is kind of typical of what you can expect. Now, this is actually, I have seen, is about correct. On cold traffic, I've actually been able to get closer to about 30%. Why is this pen so fucking big? I've been able to get close to about 30%. Never really been able to get much higher than that. So this is kind of like correct as well. A 10% close rate from a cold like webinar to a live traffic, this is about right. Again, sometimes I'm getting 7% at scale. Sometimes I'm getting like 12%. It really does depend, but it does average out to be around 10% conversion rate. Now, my argument isn't that live webinars and the stats and the KPIs that you're given are necessarily incorrect. My argument is that automated webinars far exceed live webinars at the moment, and I'm going to prove this to you with some real data. So let's just kind of break this down for a second. All right. Oh, look at that. We can shrink the size of it. That's much better. So let's just prove this for a second. If you're running the stats, right, the target that everyone says is we want to get 80% of people to the pitch. But let's just kind of break this down with some real data, okay? Let's say, for example, you're running ads. You get 1,000 clicks to your landing page. That's going to be about 250 people registering. Out of those, 25% of them will show up. That's 63 people showing up. You'll make 6 sales. And let's say you're selling like a low or mid-ticket product of around $500. You're going to make about $3,000 in revenue from that, okay? Sounds pretty good. Not too bad. But then let's just kind of run this through with some real ad spend. So if you're spending about $50,000 a month on ads, at a $2 cost per click, which is pretty standard, and I can prove this all to you. We'll go through my live ad account in a second with some real data and some KPIs and retention stats. But let me just get this across first. On average, you're going to get about 25,000 clicks, 6,500 registrations, 1,500 people are going to show up to your webinar, and you'll close about 156 sales. On a $500 product, means you're going to do about $78,000 of revenue. So you're going to be profitable, but you're going to be sitting at a 1.56 times return on investment, right? Which is not really that great. And this is on front end, and you can always do ascension offers, which we'll talk about towards the end of this video as well, and how to actually ascend these customers, and I'll show you proof that you can get a 100% booking rate as well. But let's just kind of move this forward, right? Here's why I do automated webinars. Automated webinars are so much better than live because, number one, I don't have to be there every single day doing them. Number two, they generate sales and cash for me no matter the time, no matter the day, no matter the week. Like fucking clockwork, consistently. They're just generating consistent sales at a pretty decent type, size product. And here's the thing: when you're selling a product of around $500, your real only option is webinars, because the only other funnels you can run are like VSL call funnels. But this is too low ticket to be able to sell on sales, because your sales guys aren't going to make any money, so you're going to be left doing it yourself. It's going to be sales pages. It's going to be webinars, right? Or you can do challenge funnels. But like, to be honest with you, it's too cheap for this as well. And so your only real option for a price point around here, which for me, I think is an incredibly good price point for an ascension offer, you're going to have to do webinars. And so you're going to have to do them once a week or once a month, and you're going to be spending a lot of money on ads. And just to put this into perspective, all right, over here on this example, you spend $25,000 or $50,000 to get 25,000 people potentially interested in your offer. 25,000 people. By the time that you actually get to the webinar, you've got 1563 over 25. You have only got 6% of people, which means you've lost 94% of your traffic between these two steps, right? clicks to shows. 94% of your leads have just gone into the ether. So you're only working on the assumption that 6% of people that ever clicked on your ad are actually going to be interested enough to buy your $500 product. And so the other 94% just fuck off into the ether and you never even see them again. And so that's why I hate live webinars, because you're essentially setting money on fire and you're burning cash in the hopes that you get a high enough conversion rate to make a profit on the webinar. And so that's why I don't do live webinars. What I do is I do what's called an automated webinar. The way that this works is you run the webinar, it goes on every single day. Every 5 minutes, it's just running in the background. So when someone clicks on an ad, they can register. They're redirected straight into the live room. They start watching the room, and then they go ahead and make a buying decision. Now, this is also what pisses me off. People make the assumption here that this is what you're going to get from automated webinars, right? Which is a 25% registration rate, which is about true. You're going to get 100% show rate. Now, this comes with a caveat, all right? If you run a just-in-time webinar, right, which I can't fucking spell, but if you run a just-in-time webinar, which is essentially there's a 15-minute waiting room, you're going to get a slightly different show rate. You're going to get close to about a 75% show rate because, again, a bunch of your leads are going to be like, well, I'm interested in this offer. I want to hear about this product that you're selling, but I don't want to sit in a fucking random waiting room for 15 minutes. And so what we do is we hack Webinar Jam. So inside Webinar Jam, when you get to the thank you page, when you're doing a live webinar, you redirect them to some form of confirmation page and you show them like a bunch of indoctrination videos and all that crap to try and increase the show rates. Here's what I do. When they register to my webinar, my redirect link doesn't send them to a 15-minute waiting room. It sends them straight into the live room. So I get the live link and I just push them straight into the live room, which means I'm getting 100% of every single person that register to show up to my webinar. So immediately, without any difference, no change at all, I'm getting 4 times the number of leads onto my webinar. And that is the most important part because the conversion mechanism here isn't the landing page, it's not my emails, it's not anything else, it's the fucking webinar. And so when you're doing this, you're losing so many people before they even see your webinar. And this isn't necessarily like, there is no correlation as far as I've been able to see over hundreds of thousands of dollars in ad spend. There is, I can't fucking use Miro, man. There's absolutely zero correlation between people that want to, wait. They can't wait 15 minutes, right? Bear with me, I don't have a fucking iPad to use here, but people that can't wait 15 minutes, there's absolutely no correlation to their buying power. Zero correlation whatsoever. If somebody doesn't want to wait 15 minutes, it does not necessarily mean that they're not going to buy your product. What happens is people want speed. Speed is the most, I can't be asked for this. People want speed. Speed is the most important thing, right? They want to be able to get onto the event and they want to be able to learn how to do something. And then if there's a product there that's going to help them, they want to buy it. They want to do it straight away. If someone clicks on your ad, and this is the most important thing that people seem to just lobotomize themselves and forget about. If someone clicks on your ad, the first thing is they have shown some form of intent. That is the first indication that we have that somebody is interested in what we have to sell right here. And this system that we run essentially is deliberately delaying how long it takes for us to put a product in front of that person. We don't want to do that. We want to get this person has shown some form of intent, whether it's buying intent, whether it's intent about the product, intent about the industry, whatever it is, but they've shown some form of intent. The goal is to get a product in front of that person at the highest point of intent. So when they are showing us, I need help with this, I have a problem with this, we want to get this product in front of that person as quickly as possible. By following this system here, where you're waiting 7 days to get someone onto the webinar, they may have already bought someone else's product. They maybe have already solved that problem. Maybe they don't even care about it anymore, right? And so that's why I run automated webinars, because what happens here is as soon as someone clicks, this process between registering and showing up to the webinar takes maximum 60 seconds, all right? To be honest with you, ideally, I'm doing B2C. If I could, I would completely remove the registration page. I don't care. I don't need their fucking emails. Like I'll collect emails halfway through the webinar, which is something I'm going to test in the future. And so we get people here. Then the next thing we're going to do is you're going to get a lower close rate. That's just the fact. The reason you're going to get a lower close rate is because of 2 things. Number 1 is you're not on there to convert them live, right? So you're not answering any of their questions. So you're not going to be like, if Bob has 16 specific questions, you're not there to answer Bob's specific questions and get Bob across the line. And so there's a degree of some people won't close because you're not answering their questions. I can show you how to combat that in just a second. And the second reason is just because you've got more people on there, all right? And this kind of counter like, goes against what I just said just a minute ago, which is like just because someone's, doesn't want to wait 15 minutes doesn't mean they're not going to buy. Just because someone comes onto the webinar doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy. And so you're going to get more eyeballs, right? The whole point of this funnel is this is an eyeball, if you're wondering, right? You're getting more eyeballs on the offer. And so the whole point is getting more people onto it, so then more people can see the pitch, which means more people then have the option you have a more chance that someone's going to go ahead and buy. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is. So you're going to get a decrease in your conversion rate here. If you run it through something like Webinar Jam, it can almost seem like it's live, right? Now, there's a compliance thing here where you don't want to necessarily tell people that it's live. Like, it's not live. Don't say that it's live when it's fucking not live. But it can have the chat in it and it can appear live. Ideally, you want some sort of disclaimer on your landing page that says this is a pre-recorded event. This is not like a live event. But anyway, so let's just kind of run these numbers here, right? Your target when you're running an automated webinar is to get about 30 to 50% of people to pitch, and I'll prove that this is possible in just a second, right? And so let's take the same scenario. You're getting 1,000 clicks from ads, you've got 250 registrations, but this time, right, we're going to get all 250 people showing up. Yeah, we're going to get a lower conversion rate, but we're getting 10 sales at a $500 product, which means we make $5,000. And so the reason why that's significant is because that is a 66% revenue increase. And the reason why I do this is because not only is it a 66% revenue increase, but number one is I'm not there, right? Which is the bonus. I'm not on the class. I'm not speaking to people. I'm not wasting my time. I can be working on other shit. This funnel is just running in the background, and I'm working on other stuff in the business, like higher revenue activities, than just sitting there and just answering fucking questions on a webinar every single day. The second reason why this is a bonus is because this happens all the time, right? All the time. So it doesn't matter whether or not, like, I've got a cold, whether or not I've got a flu, or my nan's died, or my dog's got kidnapped, whatever it is, that webinar is exactly the same and it's converting at exactly the same rate. And the third reason why automated webinars are the most valuable thing for you to do is because they're predictable. All right. The one thing that I hate about sales teams, that I hate about literally any part of business, is the one thing that you always struggle with when you're running a company is you rarely ever have any level of predictability in your business. And so my focus as a business owner is how can I get more predictability into my company? Because if I can get something that's predictable, that I know is going to work and it's not going to change, and it's going to stay fucking consistent for 12 months without me having to worry about it, I will take that bet every single time, even if it means a slightly lower conversion rate, or we're getting, slight decrease in quality, or whatever that is. Predictability for me is way more important than anything else. And so we're getting a 66% revenue increase with a more predictable funnel that runs 24/7 without me ever being there, that isn't affected by my sales closer getting dumped by his girlfriend, which means that we're getting win all over the board. And so let's compare the stats here. Right? If you spend the same $50,000 on ad spend, because this may not seem that much of a difference, 25,000 clicks, you're now getting 6,000 registrations, 6,000 shows, 254 sales on a $500 product, which means you've done $127,000 in revenue, which means that your return on ad spend has gone from a 1.56 up to a 2.54 times return on ad spend. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you want to be running an automated webinar. So the numbers are plain as day. Now, you probably don't believe a fucking word I'm saying. Fine, whatever. Let me go ahead and prove this to you and show you that this is actually possible. So these here are 3 webinars that I've run. And we're doing a lot of tests to see if we can improve the conversion rates. So this red one is what I'm going to call the OG webinar. This is the one that I've been running for the last 12 months. I've put like $300,000, $400,000 of ad spend behind it. It's done nearly $1 million just through this one webinar. This blue one is a brand new webinar that I launched 2 or 3 days ago. If you can watch back on our videos, you can see me talking about it. This green one is one that I launched last night. And so here's what we want to focus on, all right? When you're running a webinar, there are a few things you have to keep in mind, right? Let me just pause this. So when you're running a webinar, there are literally only a few things that you can spend your time focusing on, right? And these are the things you should spend literally all of your time focusing on. Number one is increasing trust. Everybody knows this. We're in a trust recession. Everyone is super skeptical. And I'm going to prove to you why this is the case with actual real data in just a second. The second thing that you can focus on is getting more people to the pitch. The more people that can actually see our offer, like I said, right? The more eyeballs and the higher the intent of that person, if we can get more eyeballs to our product, the better we're going to do. It's just simple fucking maths. The third thing we want to focus on is just making an absolute banger offer. Like if the offer is too good to say no to, then people are going to convert no matter how cold they are. Now, here's the point of a webinar, right? This is the reason why we run webinars. The webinar, the focus of it is simply just to condense the time to buy from a cold customer. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to condense the amount of time that it takes for someone to make a buying decision who's never even heard of us before. Now, everyone always hears this stuff, which is you have to get 20,000 different pieces of content in front of someone. They've got 7 different touch points before they've got to make a decision to purchase. The whole point of a webinar is it condenses all of that shit down into 1 hour and makes them trust you to the point they're going to go ahead and purchase. And I'm going to prove to you why this metric up here is the number one thing that you should spend your time focusing on. And just by increasing this, we have been able to, as a short test, and we'll see how this pans out, increase our conversion rate to 10%. Now, obviously, we're going to see how this pans out, right? This is probably not going to stay at a 10% close rate forever, but you can see why this is such a big focus, right? We are in such a trust recession that we have just spent one day changing a couple of things in our webinar to increase the trust, and it has taken our conversion rate from about 2.7% to a 10% close rate, which means in the same scenario as these ones, rather than making $5,000, we're now making $12,500 versus the 3K of doing them live, which is a 316% revenue increase from running these fucking webinars live, right? And just to give you perspective on that, that would put you at $313,000 in cash collected in the same scenario as before at a 6.26 times return on ad spend. And so the single metric that you want to be spending your time focusing on is how do we actually increase trust? And there's a really simple way of doing this, and nobody talks about this, but it's literally just look at the fucking market awareness. And I'll explain what this means. When you look at the market, the industry that you are in, what is the simple thread, the train of thought that everyone is thinking, everyone has the same idea about what is going on, right? I'll give you a few examples, all right? So say, for example, you're a marketing agency owner, right? Everyone fucking hates agencies. Everyone has been burnt by an agency now. Every single person that I know has been burnt by an agency. That's the first one. And so if you're an agency owner that's offering done-for-you services, it's going to be very, very, very hard. The second thing is everyone has been burnt by a course. All right? And the other thing is, like, everyone is starting to realize that it's up to them. Okay, so what do I mean by these two things? So essentially, if you're an agency owner that's selling a done-for-you service, you have to be aware that every single person that you're selling to already knows what agencies are. They've already probably paid an agency before. Maybe they've paid 3 or 4 of them, and they've been burnt before. Which means that for you to convince them to pay you, you have to be fucking incredible at what you do to get them across the line. And every time you have a conversation with them, they're going to be super skeptical because they have a predefined awareness level that is they're going to be fucked by you. And so everyone's been burnt by courses. Everyone's been burnt by coaching. Like, what's kind of happening is the stages of awareness of the market, it's moving down, moving down, moving down, moving down. So it's gone beyond the point of, like, let me show you. Let me try and draw this triangle for you. So this is typically how a market will evolve, okay? And so we start off with, if you're the first to the market and what we call like essentially a blue ocean, pretty much no matter what you say, everyone's like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'll buy your product. And then the sophistication improves. All right, and people are like, okay, everyone else has started to enter the marketplace now. It's not just you. So maybe we're going to ask the question now of why should I buy your product or service versus everyone else, or your coaching versus everyone else, or your info product versus everyone else. Then the level of sophistication moves down another step. And at this point, more people are getting burnt, more people have failed. They know more about it. And so now they can be like, fuck this, I can't do it. It's not working. Do it for me. And this is where something like a done-for-you offer really gets. All right. And most of the time, if you're selling some form of done-for-you service, no matter really the sophistication of the market, like, things pretty much tend to cap out here, all right? Which is, okay, fuck it, like, yeah, do it for me. I'm pretty happy with that. And that's where an agency is. But with certain instances where people have been burnt by agencies before, they've been burnt by done-for-you offers, then it moves down into one final stage that we're starting to see right now, which is people being like, fuck this, I'm just going to do it myself. And this is why you can see a resurgence in, like, inner circles, in coaching programs, in one-on-one support, in-person events. Like, this is why what's happening now is people are saying to themselves, like, actually, I'm not going to pay someone to do this for me because every single time I've done that, it's not worked. So fuck it, I'm going to learn how to do this myself. And so they're trying to get themselves into events, in-person places. And then what's going to happen is it's going to evolve. It's going to go back up to a new offer. Someone will put AI on the front of it or whatever, and it'll keep following this fucking cycle. All right. And the reason why I make this point is because when you're running a webinar, your biggest focus is increasing the trust. And you can do that by looking at your market. So for us, I know that every single person has been to webinars before. They've been to free classes. You know, they've been burnt, they've been sold courses, they've done coaching, they've been fucked a million times over. And so what the most people will do, right, is to increase trust. The default that everyone does is they say, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you testimonials. Fucking, I can't spell. That's what everyone does. I'll show you testimonials and proof, and I'll just slam as much fucking proof down your throat as humanly possible. And I'm going to tell you for a fact, after putting dollars behind this does not work. And in fact, this will kill trust. This is doing more damage than you think. It's absolutely fucking you right now. And the reason why is because what is it that somebody does when they're trying to convince you of something? They're going to show you the good. They're going to show you, oh, look at these great fucking results. This is what everyone can do. In fact, the fastest way that you can, if you're going to show testimonials, the fastest way that you can actually increase someone's trust is show the 1 stars. This is something that no one else is going to do. Think about, like, if someone is a guru out there who's trying to sell a course, all right, and their course is legitimately fucking shit, and they do legitimately have 1-star reviews, are they going to show you the 1-star reviews? No, they're not. They're going to show you this, which means that the trust around testimonials and 5-star reviews has gone practically to fucking 0. And so if you're the kind of person that actually says, well, what we're going to do is we're going to show you the 1 star, and it's like, okay, we have 150, right, 5-star reviews, and then maybe we've got 100 fucking 4-star reviews, right? We've got barely any 3, barely any 2, or I don't know, whatever. Maybe you've got a whole loads of 4, then you got 3, 2, and then here are 1-star reviews. And it's like, okay, cool, we've got 10 1-star reviews. And then we break them down and we say, these are the 10 1-star reviews, and this is why they're wrong, or this is their situation in each one of these, right? And then what we're going to do is we're then going to put those next to our 150 5-star reviews. And what that will do is that will increase trust dramatically, because a 5-star review is only important when it is put next to something that is bad. If you create that disparity between an amazing fucking review versus a terrible review, it makes the amazing review seem even better, especially if you have a high volume of them. All right. So we have something like 4.3 rated on Trustpilot. Right. Most of our competitors are rated like 1.2. And that's because we put a little bit of time into trying to collect 5-star reviews and stuff. But I will show people the 1-star reviews. And because once you show them the 1-star reviews, it builds trust. Like, who else is going to show the 1-star review unless someone can fully back up and claim, yeah, we get 1-star reviews. No one's perfect, but this is why our reviews up at the top, the 5-star ones, are actually so good. So you want to increase trust. Enough on that point. And the second one, obviously, is getting as many people as you can to the pitch, right? And I'm going to show you why this leads on to this, and then this leads on to this, which then that leads on to big fucking dollars in your bank account. By increasing trust, people are less likely to bounce. That is the biggest thing you're going to see with cold traffic, right? And there's I'm not going to say it, this guy on YouTube who's actually fucking incredible in the stuff that he teaches, but he says that what you should do is to, imagine this is the retention, oh fuck this, let's draw this somewhere else, right? Imagine this here is the retention graph of your webinar, all right? And you've got just regular points throughout the fucking thing. Maybe your pitch comes in here, all right? He says that your average webinar should look something like this, all right? When you get into your pitch, it'll probably fall off and do something like this, right? This here is roughly where you present your price. He says that your focus is to get this as high as possible, right? And if you're going to a cold audience, what the general rule of thumb is show them value ASAP, right? Because they don't give a fuck about you, they don't care who you are, and this makes sense. Logically, I can understand why people fall for this, right? They're saying, well, if I show value and I show trust and they believe me and I start getting them excited straight away and they're writing notes, then they're going to be more than likely to stay because they're cold traffic, they're only here selfishly. That's incorrect. Do not want to do that. In fact, I'm going to show you why just doing that one thing, and I'll prove it to you, boom, here, right? That one thing, by showing testimonials and trying to get straight to the point, did the complete opposite. Here's what it did for us. It dropped our retention down to 50% in the first 5 minutes. It killed retention. And then you get a steady decline and you get this. And so this massive disconnect here happens because you're showing them too much value as soon as possible. And so what actually should you be doing to get to this green line? Because most people, right, will get somewhere in between this. They'll get something like this on a webinar. To get to this point, you want to be doing what we've just spoken about, which is go against what the market is telling them. They've been burnt by an agency before. Do you know what people like, right? It's like people like to be heard. It's all that matters. Literally all that matters. People like to be heard. Just tattoo that on your fucking dick, right? People like to be heard. If somebody has been burnt before, if they've been scanned before, or they've been to a sales call thinking it was a coaching call, then they pitch an offer, and they're skeptical, right? And they're highly, highly, highly skeptical. What is the one thing that they are looking for right now? They want you to be different, because deep down, their problem still hasn't been solved. If anything, the amount of times that they've been fucked by other people online before has made their problem even worse, right? And so what they're looking for is they are looking for somebody to hear their problems acknowledge their problems, make them feel heard, and then show them why you are different. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you crush it on a webinar. And that is how you do things like this. Show me 1-star reviews, right? Just say, yeah, I know you think I'm going to scam you right now. Here's why I'm not going to scam you. And so here's the proof behind this. Okay, so this OG webinar here, the red one, we were running this. We had about 30,000 people attend this webinar. And the opening, for reference, this was a warm traffic webinar that I then put cold ad spend behind. So I did this from my personal brand. It converted at like 15%, 20% from organic. And I was like, well, that's pretty good. Put some old ad spend behind it. We spent about $300,000-$400,000 on ads in it. We've done nearly $1 million on that one webinar. And it started to get unprofitable, so I've turned it off. So the introduction is like, hey guys, welcome, where are you from? Like, they all know me, they all love me because they're from a warm audience. And then I just chit chat and basically fucking waffle nonstop throughout the entire webinar. It's a pretty wank webinar, to be honest with you. Then I did this. This blue one is doing exactly what everyone tells me to do, right? Which is show them as much value as you possibly can. Get them fucking excited. Show them how much you're going to make them. Like all this stuff, right? And so what I did is I tried that, and guess what happened? It fucking nuked my retention. Because what happens to those people? They hear your offer on an ad. It's enough to intrigue them, but they have nothing. They've got no skin in the game, right? Let me just draw a quick description for you. So for example, right, the bottom one here is going to be like time, right? And then the y-axis is basically just like volume, right? It's a percentage of these two metrics, right? The percent of skin in the game that they have throughout your funnel, and then the amount of trust that they have for you throughout the funnel, all right? And so this being 0% and this being 100%, all right? I've changed it to skepticism just to make it a little bit easier to see, so we can do them at different levels. So at the part, right, so this here would be your ad, all right? This is obviously just for webinar funnels, right? This is when they register. This here is when they show, right? And then we'd say this is your pitch. And then this is when they buy, right at the end here. And then this is the close, right? This is when you actually they're putting in their card information and they're ready to fucking purchase. So for people that start, right, they start here. They have absolutely no skin in the game. They've just clicked your ad, right? But their curiosity is quite high. Absolutely nothing, right? It goes up a little bit when they get onto your landing page, but practically staying at 0. No skin in the game. They're intrigued. They have a lot of, curiosity about what your offer is. Registration time has quite a big spike up at this point, all right? Maybe this is like 20% skin in the game because now they've got to exchange their email address for you. And this is the number one leading cause as to why you get a 25% registration rate, because 75% of people are too fucking skeptical to even give you their email. Put it that way, all right? Just to understand, right? 75% of people have so low trust, such high skepticism at this point, right? If I just put that here, right? Maybe this comes down to about 90%. 75% of people have such high skepticism that they're not even going to give you their email. That should hopefully illustrate to you my point here. All right, let's just remove this fucking nonsense. All right. Then what happens is they show up to the webinar. Now they've got more skin in the game. It bumps up again, right? They're getting more skin in the game. It goes up and up and up the longer they spend on that webinar. All right, so it just shoots up like this. It keeps increasing here. This is at every single one of these points they could drop off, right? And then it gets to the pitch, right? Massive jump up here, way more skin in the game. Gets to the close, another skin in the game, and then bang, it goes to about It goes to about 100%. Oh fuck it, I can't bloody draw. So the pitch goes up, the close goes up, and then by the time they buy, they get 100% skin in the game. All right. The reason why this is important is because the skepticism should, in theory, come down. All right. And so here, once they register, the people that do register, they have quite a large drop in skepticism. But then they show up to your, maybe down to here, when they show up to your webinar, they're still pretty skeptical. Maybe this here is something like 70%. Out of if 100% of someone is never going to fucking buy from you, even if you put a gun to their head. 0% is they're going to buy from you no matter what. They are still incredibly skeptical at this point. When you get to the pitch, to be honest with you, the whole point of when you run a webinar, we just remove this. If we're honest, as you go through the pitch, skepticism should come down. The pitch is probably going to stabilize. And then at the close, sometimes what happens is you get a bit of a jump up, right? And then it comes back down again. And then the whole point is throughout the objection handling section, you should drive that skepticism down. This is essentially what's basically happening for people on your webinar. And so think about it like this. When someone comes through and they click onto your landing page and they have absolutely no skin in the game, but they've got very, very, very high skepticism right at this point, that is why you're getting a huge drop off in terms of low registration rate. When people show up to your webinar, the first thing you fucking do is you show them all of your testimonials and results and what you're good at, and you start talking about like, here's how much money you can make online or whatever it is your offer is, right? They're going to bounce. They're going to be like, fuck this, because that is exactly what they were expecting. That is exactly what they were thinking is going to happen. They're going to be scammed. Yep, okay, that's what I thought was going to happen. Boom, I'm out there. And so you want to basically do what's called a pattern interrupt. And I didn't see anyone fucking talking about this stuff, so this is valuable, right? You can do a pattern interrupt where you're going to show them something at the beginning of this webinar that's going to blow their fucking minds to the point that they're going to be like, okay, I've never been to a webinar like this before. Let's just do blue for now, right? And so what happens with this is you want to do something whereby, okay, yeah, the skepticism is going to stay around here. Then they show up and then bang, their skepticism drops like this. And then it slowly decreases and it goes long and you're still going to get this spike. And then the whole point is to get down to 0. So the question is how the fuck do we do this? And again, this all comes down to what I went through over here, which is acknowledge the position they are in the market, right? People are highly skeptical right now. And so this is why when we did this and we showed people, look what we can do for you. Look how great we are. Look at all of our great testimonials and results. They bounced because it confirmed their initial belief, which is this guy's going to fuck me. They're going to scam me. So I'm going to leave. What do we do to get up to this point? Let me show you the first slide of my new webinar. If you come along to my webinar and you click on an ad and you show up to the class, this is the first thing that you see. Your gut is telling you right now that this is a scam. Your adrenaline is pumping like crazy. It's screaming at you to close this tab. But the thing is, you haven't closed this tab right now. You don't want to close this tab because deep down, you are still hoping that this time, this class, this webinar is going to be something different. It's going to be something you've not heard of before. So you're fighting that urge because you do desperately want this to be true because your problem is still there. In fact, if anything, it's got worse, right? You want proof that it's possible to make money. I've changed these slides, by the way, just to kind of match what you guys are probably doing, right? Our offer isn't actually this, but I understand that that burden of trust is on me and I have no right to assume that you're going to believe anything because I know what you're thinking, right? This is too good to be true. I'm here to pitch you my course. You know, any proof that I show you is just going to be fake screenshots. Even if this does work, it's not going to work for you. What actually is this method? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to give me your permission to try and at least prove you wrong and prove you that I'm not a scam, prove to you that these things do work. And I just need 10 minutes. If that's cool, can you put a go for it in the chat? Yeah, cool. And once I've proved that you can trust me, will you then allow me to teach you how you can do this? And then I address the first objection, which is this is a fucking scam. And lo and behold, look at that. We get 82% retention on an automated webinar, which is unheard of, just by addressing the problem that they are facing. We get way more people to the pitch as well. And I'm going to leave you with this last kind of hint of what I do, all right? This is something that I think is going to really build trust as well. And this is what I think has increased our conversion rate significantly. After I do a little bit of an introduction and I try and tell them why it's not a scam, I go, now, can I conclusively prove that this class is not a scam, that I'm not a scam artist? It's like, maybe I can, maybe I can't, right? I don't know, right? But I do believe that a guru is never going to admit that they spent 6 years trying something and getting it wrong. And I believe that my actions speak way louder than my words, and I believe that no guru is ever going to do this. And it's true. I do have something that I want to sell you. And so this is in like 5 minutes in. I admit that at the end of this class, I'm going to sell them a fucking product, right? Something that's going to save you 6 years of failure. And so like, if I prove to you that I've done all these things, will I then have earned the right to at least show you a product that I'm comfortable fast-track your results and then leave the decision up to you guys to decide whether or not this is something you want to try or not? Because I don't want to do any of this without your permission. So if you're happy for me to do this, go ahead and click go for it in the chat so I can see that you guys are on board. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I take the skepticism down to practically 0% within the first 5 minutes. I increase the trust. They have the same amount of skin in the game, but now they're on my side. And they're like, this guy's different. I'm willing to hear him out. He's shown me the bad. He's shown me the good. He's acknowledged where I am in the market. And so this could legitimately be that one thing that I'm looking for that is going to be different, that's actually going to help me. And so if you're running webinars right now, my strong recommendation is to run automated webinars and spend all of your time just talking to your customers, working out what their problems are and trying to address that and get as more people to your pitch as possible. Don't just make crazy offers. It's understanding where your customers are at. It's going to make a massive fucking difference. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and subscribe, drop any questions down below in the chat. And if there's anything you want to see next, give me some recommendations and I'll film another video for you.